Hello, and welcome back to another episode of playing Crusader Kings 3 using the hardest possible rule set, starting as a custom character in China in 1066. Last episode, we were a minister for much of it, particularly the Minister of Works. We've really done all we wanted to with this position, and now are looking to move on to our next position, which is a higher ranked minister. In relation to that, I think it's time for us to change our lifestyle and particularly to go with intrigue. As I've mentioned before, I'm not much of an intrigue player, and this particular character really is not set up for intrigue. You see, he only has an intrigue of 10. We're also just, which means that most of the schemes we would want to conduct as an intrigue character are going to cause us stress. However, we do have two stress reducing perks from the whole of body tree, so we'll be able to use them to mitigate our stress. Also, I think intrigue is useful here in terms of knocking off some of the ministers that are above us if they don't die naturally, so that we can move up. The other thing we may want to try is if we become one of the highest ranked ministers and become the regent of the Wang Di, we could try imprisoning him so he can't swing the scales against us, and then swinging the scales ourselves to try to get up to rank 6, where we could use the usurp scheme and become the Wang Di ourselves without having even to go through the division part of the dynastic cycle. You see here we're almost about to get scholar, but as you've seen, we have many events that give us 100 points of lifestyle experience here and there, so I do think we'll be getting scholar soon enough, even if we leave the learning focus. So we will go with skullduggery focus. As part of that, we also want to build a building in our estate that gives us intrigue experience. Specific. Okay, we're already building, but the next thing we want to build here is the servants' quarters. We should also look at building the visitors' courtyard for the domicile influence. We do have quite a bit of influence here, but as anyone who's been with us the past 2 episodes would have seen, it did take us a while to get up to Imperious, which is what we need for some of the important decisions we want to take as a minister. Besides that, we are just really sort of waiting for our next position as minister. As our treasury builds back up, we can take more decision as the Minister of Works to take great projects, which in turn will give us even more influence. At this point, we really want as much influence as we can get. So my wet nurse left, so I'm replacing her. Might as well get a chief eunuch as well. Guess let's take a moment here and see if there are any other decisions we might want to make. I'll pin petitioning the Wang Di as a minister. There's not too much to petition him about. When we were, the intendant ruling a king level title, that would have been a good time to petition him for house preference so that our sons would have a better chance of getting that title. Speaking of our sons, let's take a look at them, see if we can improve them in any way. See, this son already has 4 personality traits, so we can no longer influence his personality. See if there are some other benefits we can give him instead. We'll also look at our other ward here. Can't do anything with him. We always want to make sure that we are paying attention to our children, because we are very likely to be playing them. We want them to be as strong of characters as possible. Cash in some of our hooks here. See, we are in line for the Ministry of Rights. I believe that character is quite old, but obviously he's not dead yet. And he's 73. and in poor health. See, some of the others here are also in poor health. I guess 4 of them are total, so presumably if one of them dies, there'll be a sort of knock-up effect where the ministers below them all move up a notch, and presumably I will as well. In the meantime, we'll go this local examination, again with our focus now of getting more influence. We will check our wet nurse to make sure she is on instill virtue. She is, so that's good. For our palace attendant, we'll click on fuel the rumor mill to decrease the likelihood that anyone is able to murder me or take other hostile political schemes against me. We will go from there. See, we just completed the Strength and Capital Great Project. That's one of the ones we started. Gets us more influence. You also see here that the power sharing of the Wang Di is at level 4. Though well into level 4, so we're close to 5. We want that really to be as high as possible so that when and if we are able to take over, we'll be very close to 6 and can usurp the throne. Again, we want more influence. Get the learning lifestyle experience, which will give us scholar. Scholar often very useful, especially if you're an independent ruler, but here, development, growth, and decline don't matter much. We're not the culture head, so the initial hostile scheme success chance will be useful if we have to murder people, so there are some benefits to it. Here we want the intrigue lifestyle experience, the learning experience. Again, let's try for the intrigue experience. Also, get hooks we can sell. So we'll want to complete this tree. I think let's start by going down the murder-related ones, and then we'll get kidnapper. Looks like the Wang Di just swung the scales of power in its favor. It used to be that the scales of power over here, and he swung them all the way back, halfway through level 4. So again, that's sort of unfortunate. One of the reasons we need to kidnap him when we become regent is so he cannot swing the scales against us. Just see what's available here. Very likely be going on another examination. Coin flip here, but we'll send our sons to children's examination. They don't get very much stress, so it's fine to keep trying, even if they have a 50% chance or less. And we'll go to the local exams. They're good for influence, also good for intrigue experience. One thing in China is you get all sorts of sources of lifestyle experience, so you get many more lifestyle perks than you do playing in Europe or the clan character. Usually I just let the other person eat the plant to avoid getting any health penalties. Happy to get more disciples. Here we will do what we talked about in terms of building the servants' quarters for faster intrigue experience. Our treasury gets up above 1,000. We'll look at more create projects again. If we start a great project, we'll get the influence when it finishes, even if we are holding a different minister title. We want influence. Intrigue experience, since we are now intrigue. We want influence. So I guess let's do this for the intrigue lifestyle experience. And we want intrigue experience. Also curious if our wife is any good at intrigue. A little. So when we are doing any hostile schemes, we'll want to try to remember to switch her over to intrigue. See, we're 58, which normally would be quite old, but we're still in good health, and we have quite a few modifiers that are likely to lengthen our life. I'm guessing this character lives to at least 80 and possibly longer, so we are going to be with him for quite a while. Anything we can do to improve him will be to our benefit. Tips tells us we can start a great project, and in fact we do want to look at that. So Grand Canals we've looked at before, doesn't look like we could build anymore. Basically the Grand Canal's all finished, but we can keep strengthening the capital. Gives us 1,000 influence each time we do it. Do we want it to go to the bait? Why do we want it to go to the bait? More influence. In terms of why do we want all this influence, partly is each ministry has a decision you can take for 5,000 influence. If you're Imperious, that gives you a whole series of bonuses. We've taken the one for the Ministry of Works. You'll honor Minister of Works, and so you can see some of the benefits we get. Each ministry has its own honored minister decision you can take that gives you a permanent house modifier. So significantly increases the power of both yourself and all characters that will come after you. So very beneficial. Also, you can use influence to give your heirs or other people, but we're going to focus on our heirs, to give them quite large amounts of merit. So what we'll do is when our children come of age and they pass some exams, we'll start feeding them merit using our influence. And also, if they can't pass exams, we also have the option to use some of our influence to allow them to bypass exams. So the more influence we have, basically the more of a head start we can give our heirs. Don't want to marry our son to some delicate girl. Do want to keep building the servants' quarters here. Influence. See, we got 184 influence, so all good. Go for the intrigue lifestyle experience here. Let's see if we're maxed out seasoned. We are not, so might as well get travel logs to finish off our seasoned experience path and the traveler trait. Now waiting a bit for the next event, or hopefully someone dies, opens up a position. We are currently part of the pro-song movement, and I think I want to stay that way. Guess we'll go to the debate for more influence, and because debates are generally rarer than local examinations. Guess we'll see if our courtier can win this fight. Could not. So people that we humiliated in debates dying. It's good because we don't want rivals that might try to murder us. See that our wife, yes, our wife just got us a quite large amount of treasury. Guess we can look to see if we can start another great project, but I don't think we can. We talked about the Grand Canals are all complete, so not really much we can do with this extra treasury. Lost the roll on that one. We did have like a 78% chance of winning, but did not manage to succeed. Still ex ante, I think that was the right decision. That is a bit surprising. Oh, okay, so interesting. Yes, there are times when I played at 867 when I think it's a male-only fate, and so women cannot become rulers at all. I guess in 1066, that while it's male-dominated, women can become rulers, or similar to Europe. See, our eldest son here is about to become of age. Temperate because it's a virtue, though I lose a 10% chance. A bit disappointing, but live with it. Again, don't really want to marry anyone. I don't need alliances, and rather just use my children for improving the genetics of our house and dynasty. Here I'm getting candidate score just to ensure that whenever a ministry becomes available, I will be the first to take it over. Really would be unfortunate if one of the ministers above me died and for some reason I did not move up. Try to have more children with our intelligent wife. And unfortunately, the scales of power just keep dropping so that they're more in the Long D's favor. I think we looked at these at one point last episode, and it was on 6, which means, the highest level in favor of the regent. Now we see it's dropped down where it's at basically the middle between the regent and the Long D. So I don't know how feasible becoming regent and trying to repeatedly swing the scales in our favor to be able to usurp the throne is going to be. May just have to do this a long way, where we wait until the dynastic cycle goes into tension, then goes into division. The entire hegemony splits. Hopefully we'll be landed. Ideally as a king at that point. Probably won't be this character, but instead one of our heirs. And we use that power base to reunite China and become the son of heaven. One thing we really want there is to have as much gold as possible. Because we're playing on very hard difficulty, mercenaries are very expensive for us, very cheap for the AI. So we want a lot of gold so that, whatever it is, decades from now, when China splits apart, we'll be able to hire a whole bunch of mercenaries and start putting the lands back together again as quickly as possible. But again, that's a long-range goal, but it goes to the point of the more income we have, the better. We also do have a significant army now that is costing us 10 gold a month. I sort of go back and forth on whether there's a point to having it. There probably really isn't. I think as time goes on, I'm more and more likely just to disband that army so we can make more gold. On the one hand, obviously we can afford the army. On the other hand, there's just no real benefit to it. In terms of hostile schemes, because we're playing on very hard difficulty, hostile schemes are much more difficult to carry out for the player. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We probably really need to have a dedicated intrigue character to be able to successfully carry out most schemes, which this character is not. More significantly here, you see that we finally got another ministry. And most interestingly, we have jumped from the 9th most prominent ministry, so the very bottom minister, to the very top most prominent minister, number 1. That is a bit surprising. I kind of thought we would end up with Ministry of Right, some of these other ones, but we'll take this. So obviously we are now the regent. We'll want to immediately swing the scales in our favor. The only question is, what do we want to use to do that? I think we have a lot of piety that we're not really using otherwise, so let's do that. Let's also immediately take the decision to become an honored minister. You can see this here. We took the very similar decision to become the honored minister of works. Now we become the honored grand chancellor. So there you see very large increase in monthly influence. Get some merit per month, a lot of merit per tax paid to our liege, and an additional personal scheme. And again, this is a permanent modifier for our house. So for the rest of the game, everyone we play will have this modifier, as well as the modifier for being an honored minister of works. And of course we get 2,000 renown. These personal honors bestowed, we already have them from when we took this decision as the Minister of Works. I'm fairly sure they don't stack, though we can see our monthly income and treasury are both currently 44, so if those jump up, then we'll know that they do stack. There we go. So let's think what else we want to do here. First, we've taken the 3 Dynasty legacies in the blood tree that I normally take. We could go with kin, which is very powerful. Could go with warfare for when the time comes. I think for now, let's just go with the celestial government specific tree virtues. That will also help increase our power, especially in case the empire stays in a stable era or stays in tension, or for all we know, China could go from being advancement to tension back to another stable era, and we'll just keep playing as a vassal and accumulating more power, figuring out how we can get into becoming the Long D. It's interesting that he's in poor health. Let's see what the succession looks like. This gentleman is next. It's unfortunate that he obviously has quite a high intrigue, so it'd be very difficult to scheme against him. The other problem with the league being in poor health is even if we do manage to imprison him, we don't have the perk to do that yet. He might die quickly, in which case, then we just go to a son who, as we saw before, is a very powerful intrigue character. I just don't know that we'll be able to depose him, so at least for now, I think we'll just be a loyal minister of sorts. See what we can do, if anything. So we talked earlier about that I have 2 buildings that improve tutor aptitude. One of them enables 5-star education traits. So you see our daughter here ended up being a 5-star learning character right off the bat. She's only 16, so that's very powerful. And again, because domain limit is based on your education traits, you really want your children to be as well educated as possible. This makes a massive difference in how powerful they are and how smoothly the game goes. We are looking for intelligence traits, but we are finding very few of them. There's one very young boy. I guess we'll go with Herculean. Get that in our dynasty instead. Probably going to face the same issue with this other daughter. Just not many options. As part of the hardest rule set, we're playing on restricted diplomatic range, so there are, generally speaking, fewer people we can marry than otherwise. Let's see what kind of great project we can get up to. So, it gives me more influence, so might as well do it. There, more influence. Could also get more stewardship, but don't think that's really helpful now. We'll just go with the ones that give more influence. Start that project. Should have the money to start another one. Go with establish control, which we can go up here. We'll pick this one to get even more influence. Because we jump from 9th to 1st, we probably won't be getting any more options to take the honored minister decision, because there's really nowhere for us to go since we're holding the most prominent title of this tier. As you can see here, it says it right there. So we are the most powerful person in the Chinese hegemony besides the emperor himself. And so we'll have to see what we can do here in terms of continuing to advance our position. See, our son unfortunately only ended up as a 3-star stewardship character. That's a bit disappointing. Obviously we saw that one of our daughters ended up as a 5-star education character. I was really expecting our heir to at least be 4-star, but he is not. Somehow, I guess, children being disappointments to their parents perhaps fits in with stereotypes of this area, but I do wish he'd been a 4-star or even a 5-star education character. Obviously, we will have plenty of gold to spend on going to university and improving that for whatever heir we do pick, but likely does mean that we're less likely to pick him. As for now, in case we were to die, it would be fine to take over as him. He does have generally pretty good stats, but our other ward here is intelligent, so we would expect him to have better stats overall by the time he comes of age. Also note here that our liege has the highest possible legitimacy, which also creates difficulties for schemes against him and swinging the scales of power. So I just don't know that we'll be able to peacefully usurp. I just want to note here, when we can swing the scales again, I really wish that was something you could pin up here, because I'd want to see it every time it pops up. But since, to my knowledge, you can't, we'll instead just try to remember, April 11/13. We need to swing the scales again. Almost certainly make him compassionate, since it's a virtue, but this is a sin. So again, fairly obvious choice here. Want intrigue experience, even though we can get it. Get another great project complete. Just to confirm, we are on commanding our family members to attend examinations. Obviously, the other thing we could do is shape the dynastic cycle. Also, while we're stopped and looking at things, we want to see if we can improve our salary and ministry budget, but we cannot. Just pausing here to think about what we want to do. Do we want to, push forward and see if we can send the cycle into tension and then division, so that it makes it easier for us to take over? And I think that's probably is in fact what we want to do. So we will push toward tension. Obviously, we have plenty of influence, and now we were stockpiling influence before because each of those honored minister decisions takes 5,000 influence. but we're not going to be taking any more of those. And so really all we need to be influenced for is to aid our children and potential heirs. And I think we have more than enough for that, so we can use our influence for other activities, such as shaping the dynastic cycle the way we want. Keep maxing out our buildings here. Probably replace the pastures. May want to take a look at that. So we'll see if our son can marry a genius or intelligent woman. It's really what we want. There is an intelligent woman there, another one there. No geniuses. We'll take intelligent woman over there. Let's have this son also marry an intelligent girl. Thought there were two left, but looks like there's only one. So this does sort of get to the question of, exactly what do we do now? I expected we'd move up the ranks of the ministries more slowly, but instead we jumped from 9th to 1st. I don't know that we can effectively stop the Wang Di from swinging the scales of power and preventing us from ever getting to rank 6. Which means that peacefully taking over the empire isn't much of an option. So what we could just do here is do our best to swing the scales of power, shape the cycle so as to increase tension. Looks like if we consult heaven, we will reduce tension, which isn't what we want. Other thing we could look at is trying to become the head of our movement, but the current head is traveling, so we can't do that at the moment. We will go to this local examination, and then as soon as we get back, we'll take another look at going to a debate where we can try to become the movement leader. Might as well hit a couple of points of interest. These are writing poems to us, which is fine. We can even send him a poem, since we are a poet. Just wanted to see if we could support any of our support entrants, which specifically would mean to support our family members. See, our son here has passed the provincial examination, but I think probably there hasn't been a capital examination after he turned 16, so whenever the next capitalization comes up, we will want to support entrants for that, since presumably at least he will be attending, and maybe some of our other children as well. So we'll take the learning experience. Still take the influence. Take the intrigue lifestyle experience increase just to make sure that we still have that. Intrigue experience. So all of these buildings are at 5 except for the pastures. I just don't know that I'm going to use the pastures. They do have it. You can adopt puppies. There are some sub-buildings within some of the military buildings you can build for your estate that give you extra regiments, which is extremely powerful if you're going to be fighting wars. Again, we're a bit away from that. I think we destroy the pastures and look at something else. Herbal Hall is a good conservative choice. Conservative in the sense that it makes us less likely to die from plagues. I think barracks is one that you can use to get some more regiments. Oh, we could save for Ancestral Gate. Maybe that makes the most sense. So with that in mind, we'll start looking at some of these sub-buildings that we can construct here. I think Memorial Gate requires you to be a minister. Let's go ahead and build that one. Obviously get some renown, merit. Also get piety, though that's less important. See, we are moving fairly quickly through the intrigue tree, even though we are not an intrigue character, don't really have any aptitude for it. Let's check here about. Says it'd be very easy to abduct him. Do you only gain 8 stress because of some of the modifiers mitigating it? I am skeptical that it's going to be that easy. But I guess let's try to abduct him. And again, we are doing this because if he is in jail, he cannot swing the scales of power. Instead, it'll just be us swinging them. The problem is that once the scales of power go above 40, you can see that they will start decaying back toward 40. So it is very difficult to get them up to, level 6. But you can try to usurp the throne. But at this point, frankly, it's sort of either try to do this or just kind of sit here as a minister. So I think we might as well give it a try. Let's see what sort of okay. So even though it said it was very easy, it was lying. Our base success chance is incredibly low, and very few people are willing to join us. So really this was a mistake to try that. We'll just abandon it, which is unfortunate because it means it'll be quite a while before we could use it again, though frankly I don't know how it would even be helpful since it looks like our chances of abducting him are incredibly low. Put our wife back on assist, put our spy master back on disrupting schemes. Okay, and our Wang Di just died. We will go with this new Wang Di, who we will publicly support. His legitimacy is quite a bit less, though he'll probably be able to get that up relatively quickly. Does have a sinful trait, but otherwise he has quite strong stats. Really overall a quite good ruler. So I don't know what we're going to be able to do with him. think here we'll just keep playing and see what sort of opportunities arise. To some extent, this might be a game showing what happens when you can't really do what you want to do. In our first game, we saw that quite frequently, especially early in the game, we were hamstrung by great conquerors being around us, and so we really had to shape our strategies based on pacifying the great conquerors, becoming their tributaries, considering alliances with them, considering becoming their vassals, those sorts of items. So instead of just conquering a vast realm, as soon as we loaded into the game, we had to be very strategic in how we grew because we were limited by great conquerors. Here, we're not really limited by great conquerors, but we are limited by the nature of celestial government and the limitations in being able to advance now that we are the second most powerful person in China. And so we'll continue to give some thought as to how we might continue to improve our situation. If nothing else, we'll just be driving toward tension, and then hopefully division, and ideally we'll have set up our heirs for success. So that's really what we're doing here at this point, is whatever we can to make our children as powerful as possible. Part of strengthening our dynasty is to get our children, good marriages. Here we will just seek gold. Even if we're not able to overthrow our liege, one huge benefit we get is from here stealing gold from our fellow vassals. That adds to tension, but also gives us a ton of gold, and we can do it quite frequently. Here we have a 99% chance to get 750 gold, which is obviously a very large amount, so we'll do that. We're going to keep doing that. We very well might have 30, 40,000 gold by the time this character dies, and again we can use that to set up our dynasty and heirs for the long haul here. Do wonder, we saw before it was male, that our religion is male dominated instead of male only, so we can have women rulers. What I was curious about is whether women can take examinations, and if they can't, exactly how that works. So patient is well, they're both virtues. I think we'll go with patience for the learning. Also, okay, so this is a child we tried to make temperate. We had a 90% chance of success, but we failed. See if we can make him a defender. We'll also want to come back to him and try to get him temperate again. I mean, we'll have quite a few virtues, so if we end up playing him and there's a division in the empire, hopefully he'll be able to be a successful ruler, not have many rebellions, and be able to quickly conquer and reconstitute China. Meantime, we'll just keep working on improving our position, improving our power, trying to set up our dynasty for long-term success. course, I forgot to swing the scales of power as soon as possible, but we will do it now. Taking a look to see if there's anything useful we can do. So September 11/15. Next time we can swing the scales of power. Check on great projects and what we can do. There is one downside for us of great projects, which is that they generally push away tension, which which isn't really beneficial for what we're trying to do here. Let's see if we can choose ones that do not push away tension. Saw that compelling religious uniformity was very cheap, but we don't want to do it if it's going to push away tension, since I do think at this point our best way of our dynasty eventually gaining power, that's probably going to take quite a while, is to push towards tension and then division. I think we will unpin, refuse, and resume new appointments. Again, I don't think there's anywhere we can go from here, since we do hold the most prominent empire title that we can. We'll go this capital examination and see if we can support our children. There we go. When the capital examination is done, we'll take a look at our oldest son here, the only one who's come of age so far, and see about perhaps giving him some merit, so that will show that decision. And we have plenty of influence, so it won't really hurt us to do that. Don't really want to be a cheater. Extra learning is good, so that's what we'll do. I'm fine with this. I'm sure we're making plenty of merit. We're already at the maximum level of merit. We're making 61 a month. So we'll make this back in a month. Again, a little bit of stress, no big deal. Worth it to have our son have a better chance. So same thing here. We'll give him an exam advantage. Work for the benefit of our dynasty. See, our liege has swung the scales against us. Nothing we could do about that, except if we could imprison him, which is, looks like it's going to be almost impossible. And again, we talked about, because we're playing on very hard, as a player we get a big penalty to all our schemes, so playing on very hard really hurts the intrigue lifestyle. One thing we could do is eventually get this perk, which gives a plus 50% imprison chance. Maybe if we had all these perks and all these perks, or at least down to prison feudal complex, we'd be able to imprison our liege, but that's going to take quite a bit of time, especially since we're not an intrigue character naturally. That's a bit weird. Let's check where our son ended up. Okay, so our son did pass all of his exams. I mean, that's great. We can tell, we can tell because his maximum rank is first. So, that's a bit confusing. Not sure why his maximum rank says here is second. Huh. Yeah, it says he passed the palace examination. So I don't quite get it. But anyway, just to show the interaction here, you can go to influence career. You can increase candidate scores, kind of the standard decision that carries over from Ministry of Government. Not really the one that we're interested in. We're instead interested in looking at the bottom two. You see the third one, you can spend your influence to give a character exemptions from the examination. So if you have a character, say a strong martial character, who doesn't have the greatest learning, is having a lot of difficulty passing the palace examination, well, if you're a minister, you can give him an exemption for that. The other thing you can do here is you can see bestow merit. I think because of the, okay, here you see, so normally this costs 800, but because we're Grand Chancellor, it only costs 400. It gives him 2,250 merit. That's a very large amount given that the entire merit tree is 25,000. So let's bestow merit on him. You see he goes right from 7th to 5th. We'll do it again. Still at 5th rank, though much more advanced. We have plenty of influence, so let's do it again. Now he's midway through 4th. Let's really advance his career again. He's a 3rd. He should be in line for a very strong appointment now. He can even be appointed to emperor positions. And he should be ahead of most other potential candidates. So I think we'll leave him there for now and continue on our way. As our other sons come of age, we'll want to do the same thing. Try to make him temperate. Obviously a coin flip. I guess we'll just see if we can get gold, which we can't. Wonder what artifact we could get. Nothing good from him. Yeah, I don't even know what we want to do. This option to steal gold from our fellow vassals, it comes up quite a bit. Once again, adds 5 progress or attention. That's good for us. Gets us 750 gold. That's even better. 99% chance. It's just gold sitting there at this point. I think we'll go to the coronation. Not sure exactly what our intent will be. Also a bit surprised we are traveling all the way over there, but okay. His capital is here. I think he would just hold his coronation here, but I guess he's not. We could consider trying to educate one of our other sons. At least give him another trait, hopefully. Let's see what he's most willing to accept. If we make him diligent, that would be good. I don't know. Guess let's go with temperate since it has a higher percentage success chance. Let's see what happens. Here, genealogy desk, get a bit more renown. Renown's very important. Also get merit and influence, so sure. Okay. Maybe we try profess rights here and see if we get a vassal contract improvement. Otherwise, not really sure we have there's a big benefit. Okay, so this is our daughter getting married. Want to keep an eye on our eldest son here, just out of curiosity, see what position he gets. Because again, he is now 3rd rank of merit, just at a mere age of 19, so he should be getting a good position soon, hopefully. Theological debate sounds fine. We're not particularly interested in increasing the magnificence of our liege's coronation. Indeed, we'd want it to be less because we don't want him to increase his legitimacy any further. Him increasing his legitimacy just makes it more difficult for us to swing the scales. So, see if there are any intelligent women for him to marry. Found one. Somewhat interesting combination of traits. Calm, content, but also stubborn. Temperate. No real martial traits, unfortunately. So I guess I can try to get a hook on the Wang Di. Which I did. Not sure what I'll do with it. Don't really need courtiers, might as well get the lifestyle experience. Also, as a minister, you have options to bring in courtiers if you want. Guess we'll try that one. Just to avoid spending gold. See about becoming a friend with the Wang Di. Wants to be my friend, sure. I think probably a lot of people would want to be my friend, given I am one of the most powerful people in China. And so his magnificence, his coronation is quite high. That means his legitimacy is going to be much higher, which means us trying to usurp his title peacefully is going to be even more difficult. Turn. I hope people watching are enjoying watching the video, showing sort of step-by-step playthrough, but I'm going to be frankly honest. For a while here, coming up, probably not going to be the most exciting. We can't engage in any combat, and we're really just going to be playing as a Grand Chancellor, stealing money from our other vassals, and just seeing if there's any way that we can become a more powerful regent and push the cycle toward tension. And so this, so you end up at max magnificence, but there probably aren't going to be any huge developments in the next couple hours of play. I mean, I again hope you'll stay with me, but can understand that this is really going to be more for sort of a step-by-step playthrough in China. Of how to push the dynasty cycle, try to achieve your goals when you've already hit the highest level in the empire, and you're just trying to figure out what's the best way to go next. So you don't want to take either of these since it reduces tension. We'll see if we can. Okay, there we want to try to become movement leader. Does have some benefits. Allows us to build some more buildings in particular. Increased movement power is fine. We'll go here. We do have 39 learning. That's quite high. Though it's possible there are people that are higher. I think earlier when we were looking around, we ran up against someone who had a learning of 40 when we had a learning of 30. So even now we do know there are some characters out there in China that have a learning even higher than ours. So we are making quite a bit for the Chancery. Guess we can look at great projects again. Talked about before, but we don't want our projects that move away from tension. We want projects that are neutral. Obviously, if we were playing as the long D, then presumably we want to be picking projects that pushed away tension. So establish control, I mean, it's good because it gives you a lot of lifestyle experience if you want that. I don't know that we particularly need it. I guess we could just grab it. Again, there's really no reason not to spend down these budgets as much as possible. You don't get to carry it with you when you die, so you might as well just spend it all down to improve your character's position as much as possible. We want to maximize our chances of success here. We've tried a couple times to become the leader of our movement and have failed to do it. Let's go with the extra intrigue here instead of influence, since we have plenty of influence and we're now making plenty of influence. Here, don't need merit, so might as well get influence. Stop option here is humiliate upstart, 76-year-old upstart. So at least at the start, seems like we are likely to win the debate. Wonder if being the Grand Chancellor makes us more likely. Just looking for our highest chances of increase, which is the top here, which is an automatic major increase. Go with the top one here at 70%. Unfortunately, we failed. But despite that failure, looks like we are now the winner of the debate, leader of the movement. Does mean we... I thought I was the leader of the movement. Maybe I'm not. Now let's let the debate finish. Maybe that's when... Okay. So it certainly says I'm the leader of the movement. Here we basically want to see, frankly, if we can weaken our liege. And he's, in terms of the crown authority equivalent, he's on 3, which is quite strong. So he could have a petition to weaken that, which should weaken him in turn. I think we'll try to decrease the celestial bureaucracy law. Yeah, lower it. He accepts. 15 progress toward tension, so that helps as well. Accepted. So another way to decrease his power. We can steal gold. 88% chance. Really looking here just for the maximum percent chance. 99% is going to be it. So we will just accumulate more and more gold. Swing the scales of power, which we will do with piety, I think. A lot of piety. Again, I just don't think we're going to be able to make any real progress in swinging the scales until at a minimum we are able to imprison him, which is going to be quite a while. We're going to need really to fill out both of the skullduggery and torture trees in the intrigue lifestyle. So otherwise we will just be sitting here and increasing our power. So earlier that there is visitor's courtyard increases domicile influence percentage, so we'll do that. Some rewards for the great project we sponsored. We'll go for this and the chance of getting intrigue experience, which we did. You know, at this point, really want as much intrigue experience as we can get. See, our son here passed a provincial examination. See when the next capital one is, a couple years. These are the same thing for him. If he passes the capital examination, we'll start feeding our second son here merit, like we did for this son. We'll even give this son some more merit. We want our sons to be as powerful as possible, build up the overall power of our family. Might as well go to this feast. And also, if whichever of our sons that does end up being our heir, you want him probably to be even at rank 1 merit, so we can have the strongest possible start. Hopefully even start as ruling a kingdom, circuit level title. Otherwise, we talked about early in the game, one of the reasons that playing in China is not as affected by playing on the hardest possible rule set as playing feudal or clan is, because much of our power is wrapped up in the estate, and so we want to continue improving that estate as much as possible. We have plenty of gold to do that, so really the only limit on our ability to improve our estate is the amount of time it takes to build each building. And actually, as I say this, one thing we probably want to do is hire, we will hire a excellent master craftsman, auto assign replacements, so that we complete our buildings even faster. Might as well fill out some of these other positions. We have plenty of gold, so it's not really a concern. Guess we can stable master for travel speed. Might as well get a little more prestige as well. And let's move on. Guess we'll see if our daughter can get a court position. She did. Again, try to strengthen our family here. Reveler, which does give additional intrigue, so yep, so it is useful. Probably hold our own feast and continue to get experience in the Reveler trait, which in turn gives us higher intrigue, which will help if we ever get to a point where we can try to kidnap and imprison our liege to prevent him from swinging the scales. I do wonder what the cooldown is. I mean, I probably should just look up what the cooldown is on stealing gold from your fellow vassals, because it seems very short. Every time we check the tips, we can steal more gold. And okay, our liege, we could sell our hook on him for a whole lot of gold. I think we'll hold off on that. Check great projects here. Again, we really want great projects that do not take away progress toward tension. Since at this point, you're going through tension, looks like the only way that we are going to get to be able to become a ruler. Go to tension, then division. Just take all these. The first one for influence, and the rest, well, I guess we can't take all of them. So take as many as we can to get as much lifestyle experience as we can. Lifestyle experience is good. Makes your character stronger. The character is so old at this point, I don't know that trying to go to tournaments is really good use of time. And we won't make it there in time anyway, so don't need to worry about it. Do think let's hold our own feast, largely to get the Eagle Reveler experience. Might as well max it out, as we have plenty of gold, and we can keep getting more and more gold from stealing it from our vassals, stealing it from the vassals of the realm, other vassals. One thing I also want to build in our tea plantation here, a special building, which is the tea room. You see it gives influence, gives power to the movement, and also improves elderly health, meaning that when we're old, we can still hold on to our minister position, keep trying to use it to get benefits, maybe get to the point where we can imprison the liege and try to swing the scales. But I think generally that's quite useful. Swing the scales at the beginning of 1118. Again, you can see the scales are now basically at the midpoint, so I think trying to swing the scales against our liege just is not going to be useful, especially if we do not imprison him. Even if we do imprison him, it's going to take a long time to swing the scales. So we will just continue on. avoid stress, even though the amount of stress is tiny. The amount of stress is tiny there because of we have 2 perks in the whole of body tree that reduce stress. Specifically, carefree, and then whole of body itself. Check on whether we have, yep, we still have our full complement of wives and concubines, so they are getting quite old. Negotiating alliance with our son, who ended up, currently he's only holding a county, but hopefully he'll move up quickly, given he has one of the highest ranks of merit in the realm. Looking for intelligent character. I guess we'll go with that one, though she'll have to wait a few years. Okay, and I think with that, we will wrap up this episode after stealing gold yet again from our fellow vassals. Again, we'll just get more and more gold to position our dynasty to be in the strongest possible stage going forward. And we've already provided our dynasty with 2 honored minister modifiers, which are permanent, so very powerful. And with that, thanks very much for watching. I hope you do join for the next episode. And in the meantime, I'll take this time between episodes, sort of give some thought about what we can do to come closer to becoming the Wang Di. Thanks again. Bye.